There's my route for today. Mount Lyn Lowry on the right and Plott Balsam on the left. The view from Waterrock Knob. Tallest peak in the Plott Balsam Mountains. At a nice cliff viewpoint on the side of Browning Knob. I started my hike down there at that parking lot, which is the Waterrock Knob parking area, and I first climbed up the half-mile paved hike to Waterrock Knob, which is the tallest peak in the Plott Balsam Mountains. From here, on the side of Browning Knob, you can see straight ahead is Yellowface, and that rugged ridge leading off to the west leads up to Blackrock Mountain, and I hiked that crest about 13 months ago in April of 2016, so you can check out that video. And then towards the south are the Cowie Mountains around Franklin and Highlands, North Carolina. That's a way across the Tuckasegee River. And then in the distance here to the southwest begin the Great Balsam Mountains. And they culminate with the biggest ridge in those mountains to the east. Richland Balsam is due east, not very distinct, but it's kind of right there in the center of the video, and that's 6,410 feet. So some of these peaks to the right of it might be Mount Hardy, Rough Butt Bald, and etc. I'm not sure what these are straight ahead. Pretty fantastic views from Browning Knob. Hey everyone, it is Saturday, May 20th, around 11:30 a.m. Already been hiking around 45 minutes. The first part of my video is pretty quiet because it's a very busy area off the Blue Ridge Parkway. So today, if you didn't catch what I was saying earlier, I am hiking in the Plott Balsam Mountains of western North Carolina. I started at the Waterrock Knob parking area over here behind me, right way down there, and I hiked up the half-mile paved but still pretty steep trail to Waterrock Knob, which is the tallest peak in the Plott Balsam Mountains at 6,292 feet. About a year ago, I hiked on that crest over there, which is the western crest of the mountain range across Yellowface Mountain and Blackrock Mountain and down to the pinnacle in Silva. And that was a really nice hike. And this time I'm back in this area because it's kind of a checklist hike. There are 3 ranked 6,000 foot peaks along the main eastern crest of the Plott Balsams. And my goal today is to hike all 3 of them. And there's also 2 unranked peaks along this hike. So once you finish Waterrock Knob, there's a side trail that's well worn. It has yellow blazes and even a little mileage marker, but it's not an official trail, I don't think. And you can tell when you're walking it. It's very curvy, it's steep, it hasn't received a lot of trail maintenance from the Blue Ridge Parkway organization. So that leads to where I'm at first, which is Browning Knob at 6,240 foot contour. This is one of the unranked peaks. And next I'm going to go to Mount Lyn Lowry, which is a ranked peak. It's around the same elevation, but it has a higher prominence. And from there, you follow some old forest roads, skirting private property, passing Old Field Top, which is not a 6,000 footer, and then ending with a bushwhack to Plott Balsam Mountain, which is the last ranked 6,000 footer on this crest. So this is a way to inch my way towards the finish line of climbing or hiking all of these 6,000 foot peaks in the southeast. I think it's going to be around 8 miles total. Should be kind of fun, and the weather's better than I expected. I believe there's an airplane crash right down this side trail. The airplane crash is only a couple hundred feet from the top of Browning Knob. Pretty sizable wreckage here. I'm still probably about half mile or so from Lyn Lowry, but the views are really opening up as I climb this open hillside. You got a Yellowface on the left, and now you can see both Browning Knob and Waterrock Knob straight ahead to the west. I just passed by a nice hunting cabin behind me, and now I'm on grassy, overgrown forest roads that seem to intertwine with the game lands around here. There's a picnic table right there, and some sort of lookout tower up ahead. I think I'm getting close to the summit. There's that weird little tower. I'm gonna go check it out. There's a nice little wooden observation platform. You know, just getting me about 15 feet off the ground gives you a much nicer perspective. This is not officially on the North Carolina Lookout Towers list, by the way. So south we got big open views again of some of the Great Balsam Mountains, and further south are the Cataloochee Mountains. And in the distant southwest, the bigger mountains are the Untitled Mountains around Franklin. And of course we get another nice view west of Yellowface, Browning Knob, and Waterrock Knob. And for the first time today, we get pretty expansive views to the northwest of the Great Smokies. I think the most northern direction here, that big one, looks to be Mount Sterling. And to the left of it, the broader peak is Big Cataloochee Mountain. I'm not actually sure, so I can be wrong on these, but to the northwest there, that big peak is probably Mount Guyot, or Guyot, I don't know how to pronounce it. I really like how the clouds look today, it's pretty cool. And then in this direction, that could be Mount LeConte on the right, and Klingman's Dome on the left. That's pretty cool if that's true. Wow, it's a really awesome view up here. The true summit of Mount Lyn Lowry is just up there to the right, in a nice little stand of southern Appalachian spruce fir forest. Much larger swath than what was present on Browning Knob or Waterrock Knob. But now I'm on the east side of the summit, and right beside the famous cross that's on top. I don't really know why this is named Mount Lyn Lowry. I forgot who he was and why there's a cross up here, but this really big cross is lit up at night, and you can see it for many miles in almost every direction. So the peak is just above the 6,240 foot contour. I forgot the exact elevation, which is online, but this is the second tallest peak in the Plott Balsam Mountains. So I'm gonna go check out that view. I'm just below the cross on some rock ledges with really outstanding views in multiple directions. I'm looking at the Shining Rock Wilderness, which is this area, and the big peak straight ahead is Cold Mountain, and then the peak on the left is Mount Pisgah, and then the land drops away. In the foreground, that's the Waynesville area around the Pigeon River. In the distance here, there's a lot of haze, but the Black Mountains are visible, but it's pretty hazy. And now we have my ultimate destination straight ahead, which looks intimidating from here. This is Plott Balsam Mountain, and it's about 200 feet shorter than this and Waterrock Knob, but you know, it's a pretty prominent peak. So I guess I'm going to drop down and follow some old forest roads before a bushwhack to the summit. And now I'm definitely sure that earlier I said I was looking at Mount Sterling, and I'm pretty sure in the foreground here, this area is the Cataloochee Divide, and I believe this bald area straight ahead is Hemp Hill Bald. And then the big peak behind it is Mount Sterling, and the round peak, the slope peak on the left is Big Cataloochee. So really awesome views on the side of this cross. That was a pretty steep descent down Mount Lyn Lowry. Around 450 feet just straight down. Pretty narrow trail. But now, as you can see, I'm on a forest road that runs between these two mountains. Doesn't go to the summit of the next peak, but this is definitely a much faster way of hiking. So as I approach my final destination, Plott Balsam, I thought I'd give you a little overview of the Plott Balsam Mountains. This range is an east-west orientation that is surrounded by the Newfound Mountains to the north, the Great Balsam Mountains to the east, the Cowie Mountains to the south, and the Great Smoky Mountains to the west. And although this is a very small range surrounded by bigger peaks, everything in here is very steep, very craggy, and as you've already seen, there's some really great views. The peaks here range from 5,000 to just under 6,300 feet. And as I was talking about peak bagging earlier, there are 4 ranked 6,000 foot peaks in the Plott Balsams, which are Yellowface, Plott Balsam, Lyn Lowry, and Waterrock Knob. There's also some unranked 6,000 foot peaks and some peaks that are just under 6,000 feet, like Blackrock Mountain, that are well worth a hike. There's not a lot of recreational opportunities in this small mountain range because it's mostly private land and some National Forest game lands combined with the Blue Ridge Parkway land. But recently, the National Park Service acquired a lot of private land and game land that I'm on right now, and that includes the whole watershed of East and West Fork Campbell Creek, which has a bunch of really beautiful, hidden, and extremely dangerous waterfalls to reach. So I think that that acquisition at least tripled the size of this small park, and now it's going to be called Waterrock Knob Park. And I think the future plans are to develop it into more of a wilderness backcountry type park, similar to Dalton Park in the far northern part of the state. So that would be a really cool thing to look out for, is a lot of these unofficial trails may get some upgrades, some signs, some good blazes, and more trail maintenance, which will definitely bring more hikers. But really, it'd be a nice area to develop some campsites and better trail systems. and hopefully build some trails to those waterfalls in the future. So it's definitely a nice area to check out that's definitely expanding. I made it to the top of Plott Balsam. The summit marker is right there, and there's a lot of blue blazes marking the Blue Ridge Parkway boundary. That bushwhack, pretty easy. Took about 15 minutes. There were some pretty obvious paths that went through the open forest and some really old flagging tape. Once I got closer to the 6,000 foot contour, the ridge narrowed and there's a lot more deadfall. You know, no one does trail maintenance up here, so this area is up to the whims of wind and storms throughout hundreds of years, basically. This peak is 6,088 feet and is actually the third tallest peak in the Plott Balsam Mountains, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure if the mountain range or this mountain was named after itself, but you would think that the tallest peak would be called Plott Balsam and not the third tallest. And this is the easternmost peak of this tall, rugged range, and then it drops a couple thousand feet down to Waynesville in this direction. So this was the third ranked peak of the day above 6,000 feet. And when I keep saying that, it means that usually in the eastern US, a ranked peak has to have over 300 feet of prominence, which means it has to have over 300 feet above a neighboring ridgeline or gap. And a couple of the peaks on this hike, like Browning Knob, are not ranked because they don't have that prominence. So those lists that are on Peakbagging and other sites, they usually just include ranked peaks for you to tackle. So I'm gonna sit down, take a break, head back. Hopefully it won't take too long. I know the climb up Mount Lyn Lowry is going to be pretty steep. Back at the beginning of the hike. Looks like it's really cleared up. To the east, rich Lyn Balsam. It's the tallest peak, no longer obscured in clouds. It still remains super hazy and cloudy out west in the Great Smokies. Alright guys, that's it for the hike. It's a little longer than I expected. 9.1 miles. I thought it was closer to 8. And it took me around 6 hours. The trail's a little rougher and slower going. So I took my time, my feet hurt a lot. But I finished and I bagged 5 peaks, 3 ranked 6,000 foot peaks. It's a good day. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do my second hike, which was a quick 1.5 mile loop on rich Lyn Balsam to bag that. I'm a little tired. I'd rather go get some food and some beer. So worked out. The weather is definitely better than expected, and hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.